about 4:20, so there's about 20 minutes of light left, or whatever you call light, in this time of year when all the vibrancy of life goes away, and you just have to be content with that for whatever reason. There are a few things I can talk about today. The good news is I've realized editing my last video, the power of being able to remove chunks of video that just don't make sense. In the last video I uploaded, I talked primarily about YouTube and epistemology, but there were some things in talking about epistemology where the relationships I was trying to draw were done using the wrong words. So I ended up cutting an almost 16-minute section out of that video. But it's always good to reach the point where you understand that less is more, and essentially when you talk too much, your probability of running into troubles increases a lot. This happens a lot when you go to write papers in college. For example, one of the final courses you take, or I took, was something called capping. And it was basically the study of the philosophical underpinnings of environmental science and policy. And there was a final paper that we had to write, and the maximum length it could be was only 15 pages. And I had finished my paper, or what I thought was the final version. And that final version was 14 and a half pages long. And in reading it one last time, the night before it was due, I decided that, at least for my standard, sections of the paper didn't make sense. So, if we look at that whole day, I woke up at, let's say, 8 o'clock in the morning. I went to classes pretty much all day that day, and then I was rereading that paper at essentially 8 o'clock at night. Realized I wasn't happy with it, and then stayed up the entire night reworking portions of it, and then had classes the whole next day. So essentially I was awake for about 30 hours straight of just doing intellectual work. But anyway, in reworking that final paper, I was able to cut essentially 2.5 pages out of that paper to produce a 12-page paper. And I believe, had I submitted the original paper that was 14.5 pages long, I would have got maybe a B or B minus. But because I reworked the paper and made it shorter, more concise, more meaningful, and easier to read, I got an A. That was one of the sticking points with my ethics teacher in a different class as well. He always made the point where he put ridiculously short page limits on our papers. It was something like they could be no longer than 3 pages long. And although this is really short, it does force you to only put the most meaningful arguments and information in your paper. So there is something to be said for having the ability to revise your thoughts and understand when you've overextended yourself, and to know when cutting back makes your argument stronger. Another thing, totally unrelated to that, to talk about, extending on my stream of consciousness, is to explain a fun topic. And that would be why I enjoy strippers or people in the adult film industry. Now, it might just be me, but I have a very low tolerance for normal, uninteresting people. I don't know if it's my disability or if it's something deeper, but I find normal people to be very, very uninteresting. Every time I read a Tinder bio, I laugh at how stupid and uninteresting the person is, because they think the converse of that. They think they're the most interesting person, and that is just not the case. However, strippers or people in the adult film industry are, by their very nature, more interesting than normal people. They're not afraid to be expressive, and to me, that is appreciated. If you can find a way to make your life interesting, no matter what it is, as long as you aren't breaking laws in the process, then that is a good thing. People should not pass judgment or negative judgment on people who find fulfillment in doing things that are sexually expressive. At the end of the day, people are driven by sexuality. It's nice to be thoughtful and to have the opinion that gaining knowledge is the most important thing in life. But another very important thing in life, a baser instinct, as you might say, is our sexual desires. So we shouldn't diminish the importance of that. I think it is absolutely outrageous and very telling of Republicans in general that the current Speaker of the House and his adult son monitor each other's usage of porn on the internet. That is so disturbing to me and not healthy in the least. The fact that we have someone at the head of the House of Representatives that thinks this is an appropriate good thing to do is absolutely nuts. A person like this should have no power to pass any laws impacting the lives of American citizens and also the lives of people in other countries, because as we all know, America does have great influence on the lives of many people around the globe. I think today's society, there's a tremendous amount of people who feel socially isolated and lost. And although this may be true, a lot of that feeling comes from people not knowing where to look for a group of friends they would actually like. A lot of people, I feel, try to fit into the people they are surrounded by, the people that make up their local community. You do not have to do this. It is okay to think that the people of your local community are losers. It is possible that they are. I believe, in my case, this is true. I'm not saying that everyone in the community is this way, but I have found that, from my perspective anyway, the great majority of people that are still living in this area are losers. And in this case, for example, it is up to me to find a community of people that better suit my interests. And you can do this quite successfully. I think a lot of it is done by chance, but it can be done. You can use the internet and your expanded pool of people that it has to offer and find the group that you fit into. In my case, the group I fit into is people of the adult film industry. Your group of people, of course, don't have to be that extreme, but the point holds that even lonely people can find the group they most associate with. You are not stuck to your local surroundings. It's just not necessary with today's technology. Some people, of course, don't understand this, but I think if more people were open to broadening their scope in their search for potential friends, some of society's problems would be lessened. If I had to limit my search for friends to this area, I would be extremely depressed, because a lot of these people, for lack of a better word, suck. The good people, by just sheer ability, that's how I'm judging good people in this sense. So it's a very limited sense of the word good. But all the people with ability left this area as soon as high school was over. Once college started, there was either no way they were going to stay here, or no way they were going to stay here after college. So that being the case, you might be able to understand why I say I don't fit in with any of the people here. People want to blame the influx of drugs on this area's current problems, but this area sucked long before drugs, or long before the recent influx of drugs. And if we want to look deeper for a reason as to why people do drugs, you can't ignore the fact that people do drugs out of boredom. If people weren't so bored, they wouldn't be so apt to do drugs. If you live in a boring place where you don't have much opportunity, then it makes sense to me why people would get hooked on drugs. Anyway, I didn't know the conversation would go down this avenue, but that's why stream of consciousness is a good thing, and why I never write out a script for these conversations. I just have maybe an idea, and I go from there and see where that branches off. Not everyone can do that, but I think most successful YouTubers can. This is a semi-nice colored sky. Still have some bit of white. It's interesting to me that people look down on porn. They look down on the people who are involved, and that is just very unfortunate, because from my experience, people in the porn industry, or even just hobbyists, have a lot of good they can offer society. We are the generators of a lot of happiness. I know for the most part Republicans don't feel this way, but there's a lot of negative things in the world. A lot of things that take people down really quickly. And in offering an escape from that for 5 minutes, 30 minutes, 2 hours, we are promoting good. I firmly believe that. And luckily for people in the adult film industry, the demand for porn and an escape aren't fading. If anything, the demand is stable if not increasing. I believe part of the reason my YouTube channel is growing is because I every so often advertise it on my Twitter page, which is a page which is a mix of my adult film material and politics. Without that advertisement, I do not think that my YouTube channel would be able to grow like it is. Ultimately, you need to be interesting to attract people, to have people care about what you're doing. And if one of the ways you are interesting is in doing adult film work, then I believe that is a useful thing. That is a good thing that should be highlighted. And with that, because my stomach hurts very badly right now, I will end the video as the white fades and the sky takes on a nice darker shade of blue.